What could kill you in your daily life that people don't even understand it's that dangerous? Moving water. It doesn't take much flowing water to knock you off your feet or float a car. Ladders. There's a surprising amount of fatalities from people falling off ladders every year. Edit. There have to be at least 100 plus stories of fatalities. People getting maimed, injuries, or at best lucky close calls in response to this post. I've read them all and some of it is downright tragic. Be careful people, and don't let your boss browbeat you into using a ladder when you shouldn't. Rickety ladder. Too short for the job. On a slippery surface. etc. Things under tension. Garage door springs. Piano strings. Rope holding a tent down. When these things suddenly release their tension all at once, you don't want to be anywhere nearby. Hydraulics. If you work in industry you're constantly around hydraulics containing hundreds of C of a heavy, non-compressible fluid that requires zero licensing or specific training to work on. Just as potentially dangerous as electricity without many understanding just how hazardous it can be. Mixing alcohol with Tylenol. You might not see the effects for years, but it can cause crazy liver damage. Brain aneurysms. Archer jokes aside. A family friend was completing nursing school, went to bed with a headache, and never woke up. I don't think she was older than 23. Really sad. If you or anyone around you ever had/has an on-trauma instant headache, and can describe it as worst headache I've ever had, immediately have someone drive you to the ER, and describe it to the admission nurse exactly with that phrase. They won't frick around, and they will immediately get you in for scans. Driving. People forget how easily you can lose control and die, yet almost daily I see people on the phone behind the wheel. Not getting enough sleep short term. Just not being alert increases your risk for an accidental injury or worse, and longer term sleep deprivation issues could lead to illness or death. Falling. From any height including on level ground, you just have to hit your head in a particular way and that's it for you. One of my biggest fears is falling in the bathroom, hitting my head and dying. Then someone will have to retrieve my dead, naked and probably rotting body. So embarrassing. Apparently texting while driving isn't considered to be hazardous by 80% of people I see driving. Don't hide in a clothes dryer when playing hide and seek. Some of those are airtight and you will suffocate to death. Edit. RIP. My inbox. Holy crap. Escalators can completely destroy you. Someone else in the vehicle not wearing their seatbelt. A 200-pound passenger not wearing their seatbelt turns into a 200-pound sack of meat and bones flying around the cabin during a collision. If they smack into you then you're fricked. Even if you don't respect your own safety and well-being, respect the safety and well-being of the other people in the car. Wear your seatbelt. Wear your seatbelt. Wear your frickin' seatbelt. Tires. Just check out some of the top posts on /r/tire/etherethenomy. A loose tire from a semi or car can come out of nowhere and just wreck you as you walk down the street minding your own business. Electricity. All these extension cords haphazardly strewn about. People don't realize how toxic alcohol is. Surprisingly, Tylenol. There's a very good reason why it says not to exceed the daily limit in big bold letters on the side of the bottle. It can cause you to bleed out, and it doesn't take very long to add on. Smoldering ashes. Ashes can smolder for hours, and you won't even notice. I have a two-stage system for outside ashtrays, and a safe spot for the grill to cool down overnight. Never take chances with any form of fire. Speaking of, dry a lint. Clean out your lint trap. Clean out the exhaust point for your dryer, and check that everything is working properly. Diabetes. Had a friend die the year after high school from diabetes no one knew he had. Everyone said the only possibility was some sort of accident, as we'd all seen him only weeks prior, and he was healthy then, plus you couldn't not like the guy. No way anyone would ever kill him. Was shocked to say the least when I found out he died of diabetes. Sounds like a very painful way to go. Water. We take it for granted, but that bish will kill you. Don't drink enough. Dead. Drink too much. Dead. Inhale some. Dead. Standing outside when it's coming down. Swept away and dead. I want to personally curse/you/Meltzerismidity for making a thread that will inevitably make me too afraid to leave my home. Or even stay in my home, I guess. Edit, for all the comments that are just telling me more worrying things, curse you too. Pool drains. I have the worst fear of pool drains, especially the large square drains, because in 2000, I got stuck to a massive square drain the size of a door at the bottom of a community pool when it accidentally turned on. Luckily, the lifeguard immediately jumped into action and had the drain turned off. They had to cut out my hair, and I had the worst posh spice bob for the rest of 5th grade. In most recent years, due to several pool drain related deaths, I've read that pool drain covers have to be dome-like, and there are 2 drain systems. So if someone gets stuck on one drain, the suction goes to the other drain. I have a slight obsession with looking up pool drain safety these days. Sitting down is the new smoking, quote a cardiologist colleague of mine. If you're really unlucky, brain-eating worms that can be found in water out of the hose. A 12-month-old baby was playing in his shell pool in my state. A garden hose his mum had given him. 3 days later he was gone. From my understanding, you can get them from swimming pools too. General anesthesia. My friend's mother went in for a routine surgery on something completely non-life-threatening. She never woke up. For me personally, my shoes have almost no traction on the bottom. Every wet surface is dangerous right now. Even the paint lines on the road are slick when wet. I could fall and smack my head, and that'd be all, she wrote. Pretty much everything. You can trip walking down the sidewalk and hit your head just right. Boom, life-altering injury. You'll never be the same again. We are just bags of blood loosely held together by a skeleton and some muscles. That being said, I still take part in some activities that I know are very dangerous. Would rather burn out than fade away. 18-wheelers. Can't believe the amount of future Darwin Award recipients playing road games and brake checking semis. Carbon monoxide getter detector. Not sure how big of a deal it is anymore, but it was like the killer thing in the 90s. Carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas that has no smell or taste. Breathing it in can make you unwell, and it can kill if you are exposed to high levels. Incorrectly installed, poorly maintained or poorly ventilated household appliances such as cookers, heaters and central heating boilers are the most common causes of accidental exposure to carbon monoxide. NHS England. Just falling down. I fell off a ladder Saturday and broke my ass in half in my front yard. Haven't been able to walk straight or even get out of bed or sit down without excruciating pain since. In the moments after I landed, I genuinely thought my back was broken. So I know this wouldn't apply to everyone's daily life, but my full-time job is at a zoo, and I work at our sea lion exhibit, where people can feed the animals from the top of a ledge. One of the safety rules we have is don't dangle your arms over the ledge, because it's teasing the animal and that's the signal to them that you have fish. So, if you keep your arms over long enough looking like you're holding a fish, it's possible that sea lion will jump to your hand and bite you. A lot of people disregard this rule because they want to get the animal's attention. What a lot of people don't realize is that 1. Sea lions have extremely sharp teeth and can and most likely will hurt you if they bite you. 2. Sea lion bites have an extremely high infection rates, and if you're bitten you will most likely contract an illness called seal finger. If not treated properly, seal finger can actually lead to the loss of hand function and fingers themselves. If not treated at all, it may possibly lead to death, and not a lot of medical professionals are used to treating sea lion bites. So anything. You just have to be in the right place at the perfect time. Take the Humboldt bus crash. If either driver had arrived at that intersection 3 seconds before or after, nothing would have happened. It is the definition of a freak accident. I still see people light up a smoke while pumping gas. You'd think this would be common knowledge as well as common sense, but evidently not. I see a lot of videos of people getting attacked by trained animals that are still dangerous. Lions and bears, for example. People need to know not surprise a trained bear coming in too close behind it for a photo. Don't get mad at an animal for acting like an animal. Saw a girl get bit by a wild shark. She was hands feeding it. Like, what did you expect would happen? Likely wouldn't kill. But a lot of freaking parents do not feel the need to teach their children that you need to ask the owner of the dog they want to pet if it is okay before you pet. This is mostly parents from families that don't own dogs. Sure, for the most part dogs are friendly and love pets, but you may come across a dog that doesn't like children. Likely causes how children make more unpredictable moves as well as how rough they can be when petting/playing with a dog. It could also be a dog that doesn't like to be approached certain ways due to a prior owner/experience. Or it could be the extreme opposite like my dog who loves everybody and shows it with action. Look, I'm a big dude, but when I approach her, her little 40 pounds body almost knocks me to the ground. So when your 6-year-old runs up to my dog and my dog attack hugs your 6-year-old, imagine the chaos. It really bothers me when I'm somewhere with my dogs and children run up to them while the parents just sit back and smile. My wife and I call the parents on it all the time because they don't know how my dogs behave. They are like humans when it comes to the fact that different dogs have different personalities. And since I'm on the subject, people need to start following dog park rules. Usually rules state that you have to be a certain age and up. I'm sorry, but dog parks are for dogs. They are not your child's petting zoo. I watched a little kid being an absolute crap to a dog at the dog park. So naturally the dog bit. The parents who ignored the rules and ignored their kids being crappy then felt the need to call animal control/park rangers. The park ranger showed up and laughed the lady out of the park citing the park rules. Park is run by the city. Dog parks are safe havens for dogs to be amongst other dogs. When you go in, you are in their world, not the other way around. To an extent anyways. It does however seem that some people are either reading what they want to read and commenting on that as opposed to what I actually am talking about. Hey, we all do it. No biggie, or that I was not clear enough. Either way, I'ma spell it out here. A dog owner is 100% responsible for their dog. I'm not talking about the dog owner's side of the story. I'm talking about the fact that it is a good habit to teach your children to ask permission. Furthermore, whether or not an owner is responsible, if your kid is bit, your kid is still equally as bit, whether or not the owner is responsible. The fact of the matter is, if a dog is brought up well, they don't attack for no reason. Kids move differently from adults, making them unpredictable. Yes, if an owner knows that their dog is not child friendly, then children's parks should be avoided. But I'm sorry, if you bring your child into a dog park, you are asking for it. I capitalize to make my point clear, not to be judgmental. Good habits of dog owners is a different subject. 95% of people I see who walk with their dogs off leash should not be. Rarely have I seen a responsible owner who has a dog that can handle being off leash. Maybe like 1 vs the hundreds I've seen. The bottom line is, it is silly to just watch your children run up to strange dogs while blindly thinking it's the dog owner's responsibility as to what happens next. Not mine. I would like to point out now that I would never walk my dogs off leash, and I would not walk my dog anywhere I think they could not handle. But I would also like to point out that, while my dogs are my responsibility, it is parents' responsibility to control their children. I have no problem with kids petting my dogs when I feel it's appropriate, but I also have no qualms with telling kids no when I feel it is necessary. From dog owner to parents everywhere, please give us the opportunity to make this decision before your kid makes it for us. Also, sorry to make it longer, but another big point that I want to double down on. You have no idea what kind of dog you are dealing with. You also have no idea what kind of dog owner you are dealing with. One more, I promise. But I also want to take the time to say that it is the owner, not the breed, that makes a dog good or bad for the most part. All of the scary stories about pit bulls and such are there mostly because of the owners and why they are being raised, sadly. I feel like people are entirely too nonchalant about piloting 3,500 pounds of steel at 70 miles per hour. Stop freaking texting. Mental health. Stress. Stress can kill. Had a few middle-aged friends who were working on this or that project. Often not even work related. Pulling late hours. Definitely complained of stress. No health issues. Just stress. Boom. They drop dead or don't wake up. Likewise, have known people in grief or other emotional stress. They die planning the funeral or on the way to the funeral or something. No previous health issues. just intense emotions. Stress can kill. I think people don't understand the question. I think everyone realizes how dangerous driving, alcohol, brain aneurysms, and floodwaters are. Head injury, and arguably sports. I know multiple people who have died at younger ages from falling and hitting their head. My brother's best friend died at 19 a couple years ago after slipping in the shower. I'm sure most of you know someone who has had a concussion or other brain injury. Just remember, it's not much of a stretch. Forgot to mention sports. Even though it's not typically a life and death scenario, head injury is treated far too lightly in the sports realm. I say this as someone who knows at least 5 people throughout high school who have gotten serious concussions. If you or your kids are considering sports, just remember the risks. The sun. Most common cause of heat stroke is not covering the back of your neck when out on a hot day. Mixing bleach and ammonia creating chloramine vapor. Riding a bicycle. All it takes is one inattentive driver or a random road hazard to take you out. Hell, a guy just died because his tire got caught between some street car tracks and was hit by a bus. Vaccinations. Well, not getting vaccinated. Say what you want, but vaccines are the reason why you don't have polio. Get vaccinated unless you really want measles, mumps, rubella, whooping cough, polio, Spanish flu, etc. Lastly, vaccines do not cause ASD. ASD, autism spectrum disorder, is a set of genetic disorders usually found in an offspring caused by 2 parents who have the autistic gene but isn't active. It ranges from pretty dumb to pretty smart. In fact, it's theorized that Nikola Tesla, the mad scientist that made our current electric grid, was autistic. Head injuries. We forget just how insanely fragile our brains are, and we are just now starting to understand concussions and traumatic brain injury. Getting knocked out doesn't work like it does in the movies. If you don't die, you can have cognitive impairment, personality changes, etc. You can ruin your whole life due to one unlucky thump to the skull. I participate in equestrian sports and it drives me crazy to see people not wearing helmets. There's a video of a lady going around where she went over a jump. Her horse took a bad step, somersaulted, and literally landed on top of her head. The only reason she's still alive is because she was wearing a helmet that was side crush rated. Food. Choking can happen anytime to anyone. Doing somersaults and flips into the pool. If it hits your spine or your marrow, the consequences are fatal. Someone you know, or don't, might decide today is a day to plunge a knife in your heart, scald you with a pot of boiling liquid, push you in front of an oncoming subway, run over you with a vehicle, beat you with a baseball bat while you sleep, or sneak up behind you and do it. At my work there's a spiky thing you put receipts on to keep track of orders at the drive-thru, and I reached down to get something on the counter and nearly pierced my neck through it. I didn't realize how dangerous such a little thing can be. It's called a spindle. Water. Drink too much, you die. Stress. Radon gas. My new psych meds have this side effect, sudden death. It's like, what am I supposed to do? I have to take the meds, or I go insane literally, or I keep taking them and potentially drop dead one day from taking them for too long. Can I take something else? Sure. But this is like the 10th psych med I've had to use in the last couple of years since my psychotic break and schizoaffective diagnosis, because they don't work, or the side effects are terrifying. At this point I've been sick for so long that any break in the paranoia or hallucinations is worth it. Plus I have a muscle wasting disease, so it's not like I'll have a long life anyway. Just walking around outside. I can't find the article, but a friend of a friend was crossing the street, tripped on the curb, hit his head, and died. Most freak accident ever, and it could happen to any of us any day. Refeeding syndrome. It really won't happen if you live a normal life. But if you starved yourself for a long time and then binge eat, things can go wrong. Bodies of water, especially rivers. I can swim well and grew up confident that I never needed a life jacket until I got into kayaking. I was still a novice point, and we decided to kayak a 12-mile run on a nearby river. We had heavy rain for 3 days straight just before I always bring a life jacket, but normally I don't wear it, unless there is some really choppy water. This day I wore it for some reason. Came across some rapids, and hit them at an angle. Flipped right over in rough waters and my kayak was more than half sunk in less than 5 seconds. I lost a few things in my yak, but the important stuff was in a watertight box attached to my yak. My wife couldn't pull me, and the yak to the side of the river. I was able to signal friend who was 100 plus yards ahead of us. He made it upriver, and pulled me to safety. Women still die in childbirth with alarming regularity, at least in the US. It pisses me off when I hear anti-hospital types saying childbirth is natural and doesn't need a doctor's attention or even a nurse midwife. Your body knows what to do. Women have given birth successfully for millennia. Sure, plenty of women give birth without complications, but many of them do not. Childbirth can be debilitating or lethal for both mother and baby, and in the US, midwife is an unprotected term, so lots of people using it have no medical training. Not to mention that kicking women out of the hospital within hours of giving birth is barbaric. I lost an otherwise healthy neighbor last year to a complicated childbirth, survived by her widowed husband and 2 orphan children. It infuriates me. Falling out of the bed. Cellulose tampons. Leave them in too long, and you can die from toxic shock due to bacterial infection. Trees. They are everywhere, just waiting to fall on you. Being born. The instant it happens you start dying. Methane gas. Mainly the kind that comes from manure. Crap can kill. Grain elevator here. Explosions and collapsed beams could happen at any time. People do not realize how explosive grain dust is. How easily I could contract some nasty disease from all of the money handling I do at work. Not to mention, I oftentimes have customers who will come in that are extremely sick with whatever. Hell, a few weeks ago a coworker got some sort of flesh-eating bacteria from work. The building you live and work in. Remember, it was built by the lowest bidder and isn't nearly as solid as its polished facade leads you to believe. On top of the individual work ethics of everyone that touches something in the building, there's reasons from the top down why every corner is cut. Client decides they are moving in 1 month sooner. General contractor hired the plumbing company that he did because he's a cousin and works cheap. Fire alarms were an afterthought. The list goes on. Safety inspector had another site to be by 11, so good job everyone. After 5 minutes on site, OSHA guy was already running late for his appointment. The electrical guys are the direct competitor to the data/security guys, so they were mostly passively aggressively freaking each other over. The HVAC guys and plumbers didn't know they were supposed to have contacted each other 6 months prior until just now. Does fire caulk actually work that well? Nobody I've ever worked with actually knew for a fact. Every single one of those I've heard or seen on a commercial construction job site. Oh, and the site foreman smoked huge ass stoges throughout the entire structure right up till the point they carpeted, and he couldn't let the ash get on the new shag. Smoked them like a chimney. So you'll be smelling tobacco smoke coming from your walls eventually. Whatever my next career move be, it's getting away from commercial construction. Preferably with few buildings around. Frankly, I'm considering oil rigging. If I'm going to work a job as dangerous as mine has been showing itself to be lately, I might as well get paid well for it. Food allergies. Some people still don't believe it's a big deal. Not a physical thing, but depression is real. And it's very easy to not notice the signs until it's too late. Over-the-counter medications, and to some extent, supplements. Aspirin, for example, is hella dangerous for kids. It can cause Reye's syndrome. Supplements aren't required to be produced to the standard of medications, yet people treat them as if they are the same. Also, a UK study showed that a large percentage of supplements on the market had none or trace value of the active compound. For people relying on them for a holistic or natural treatment, that can be dangerous AF. Also, people rarely consider supplements interacting with their other medication. St. John's wort being the most common. That bish can and will frick up your birth control, your psych meds, pain meds, you name it.